serve and solve every department's needs within the enterprise by integrating all of the functionality, business process data into one holistic computer system. And what it tried to do is take all of the disparity, i.e. the standalone systems from each department, and it tried to integrate that into one single software solution running on one single database, all of those mimicking the solutions that each department or line of business was using. And the reason it tried to do that is to give one version of the truth in an easy manner for people to communicate within the organization. Now, that's the key word, within the organization. And over time, if you need to implement additional functionality, you can take some other applications within that ERP package and bolt them on and implement them within the ERP system. And when you did it correctly, it was a highly justified solution, and it brought a lot of return, on investment to the organization. So back in the day, vendors such as Oracle, SAP, things like that, they looked at the evolution of computer hardware and computer software systems, and they said, hey, let me build solutions based upon the development in that hardware and software. So way back in the 60s, we had things like COBOL and Fortran and Algon, and we had people starting to code in those languages and developing systems for those computer hardware and or software systems. Now, in the 70s, people said, well, wait a minute, my business is, it's important for me to understand where I'm utilizing my money, i.e. I'm getting in raw material, I'm manufacturing things, making goods to move out there to the masses. I need to truly control all that and understand all that. So this is where the evolution of ERP began. It began literally in the 70s with people saying we need to control our manufacturing process and understand, the goods coming in, the way we're configuring them to sell them. And then in the 80s, people said, well, wait a minute, just worry about manufacturing isn't good enough. I need to understand how I purchase and how I can source all of my raw material. And not only that, how I utilize my people and my human capital. And what about my engineering people when they turn around and try to develop new product? It costs me money to do that too. So all of a sudden, ERP packages started to expand to incorporate those areas as well. Well, in the late 80s, early 1990s, all of a sudden people said, well, wait a minute, it's more than just manufacturing. It's my complete supply chain. It's my end-to-end access, visibility, and consistency across my enterprise. So ERP System said, we need to encapsulate in one solution all of this stuff to make it valuable to organizations. But you can see that in the 80s, organizations realized that there was a lot of information coming in. There were a lot of analytics that needed to be done. There was a lot of information people needed to see. So ERP vendors said, well, wait a minute, we need to expand our thinking into more of a data warehousing kind of model so that now we can take all of these transactions that are starting to hit disparate systems, right? We need to take information that's hitting just financials or just sales or just purchasing. We need to take pieces of information, put it back together again so we can look at things across the enterprise, i.e. we need a data warehouse. Well, in the 1990s, ERP vendors started to add more and more and more functionality. That gave us the extended ERP system. And you can see that over time, ERP vendors like Oracle, like SAP, they were trying to be the cure-all for everybody and give everybody what they needed. Well, back in the 70s, back in the 80s, that was okay because manufacturers, organizations, consumers weren't that sophisticated. The internet was just starting out. So everybody, it was in their infancy, and ERP vendors said, hey, we can do all of that. We can put it all together. We can start in the 60s with simple inventory, and maybe in the 80s add some asset lifecycle management and things of that nature. But all of a sudden in the 2000s, you can see that society and businesses all of a sudden started to become more unique. They started to say, we need some type of unique process to run our business because we're getting that external pressure into our organization to become better and to provide more and more and more to our consumers. So back in the day, ERP was simply a software package that said, let me take a bunch of data, let me seamlessly integrate it, and let it flow through the company, all the way through the supply chain, financials, all the way through down into manufacturing sales, and let me be able to give some rudimentary, information back to my customer, right? It was meant to be configurable to a degree that integrated all this information within and across boundaries of my enterprise. It was one database, one application, one seamless user interface that everybody came to know and love. And they were meant to be a single computer-based system providing organizations all the transactions and integration for real-time planning, production, and customer response. So as I said, back in the day, that was great. It turned around and said, hey, I have unique people and departments. I need best practice standards. I have to bring worth and importance. So let me look at my infrastructure. Let me turn around, look at all the job roles and process. Let me turn around and get some third-party applications or integrations that I can alleviate. Let me look at industry best practice, and I'm going to bring value as an ERP system by putting that all together in one total solution. Again, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, that was a conceivable, doable thing. That's what was new, and that's what people wanted. But they were really built for larger, complex organizations, and it needed consultants to come in and really help the organization implement based upon what their requirements were. And that was good because back in the day, most organizations, most individuals, they relied on external people to help them do that. And reorganization and reengineering of the organization, their business processes, is what ERP systems did. Again, it provided that seamless integration, and it met that specific need and let you bolt on other things when you required them. But what about today? Today with the internet, today with open architecture, today with SaaS offerings and things like that, ERP vendors, traditional ERP vendors, are finding that it's harder and harder to have one holistic solution to provide to all their customers. They need to think outside of, proprietary single system kind of thing. And they need to be able to have collaborative business using intranet, extranet, all in a seamless manner. So traditional ERP vendors are recognizing that they can't provide you one single holistic solution. There's going to be a constant, never-ending process of people looking at either re-engineering their business or looking to develop new process and do things in different manners, or get external and start, utilizing and expanding into different areas. So now they are looking at open architecture so that they can say, hey, we still want to be the core provider of your ERP, but we also know that you need an easier way to interface, to get customizations and boutique type of solution that you need, and we need it to be able to provide it to you in as easy a manner as your old school ERP system. So now what ERP vendors are saying, we no longer bring value by giving you a holistic solution. Our value now is our ability to couple all of that and have you utilize your core ERP system as your initial tier of your ERP, but have the ability for you to have second and tertiary ERP systems that can interact and integrate into your core ERP. So how do we go about doing all that? We have to understand the evolution. Technology, digital tools, people, the users, the demands of society, your consumers, they want to be able to access data themselves. They want to be able to get real-time data. How many people order from Amazon, and the next thing you know, the next day you go in to track your order to see where it stands? 15, 20 years ago, people weren't doing that. You put in an order and you just crossed your fingers and said, hello, they said a week, and hopefully I'll get it in a week. There's different processes, different business models, different organizational change that is occurring day to day that we need to react to, and we can't do that with our mom and dad's ERP system. We need to be able to improve our performance. We need to be able to stay ahead of the curve, and we need to be able to take advantage of all those strategic opportunities and those challenges that are happening within the marketplace. So when we think about, single tier and multi-tier, you can't think that implementing one ERP solution is going to improve your functionality, your wants, and your woes. You're not going to get that full solution. Again, we'll talk about, some of the constraints with the business, but you're not going to get that full solution just looking at one ERP system. Your ERP system is expected to improve both your back end and your front end solutions. Now, when we think about deploying an ERP system, we think about doing it for many tangible and intangible reasons and for benefits and strategic solutions. And you can see in this chart that you have a presentation layer that affects your consumer, i.e. your user and or your customer. There's the business logic. How does it really operate, right? What type of internal operating system and source code are you really running? Then there's all the data. Where is that going to reside? Then there's the bolt-on capability with other applications. All of these things become important to you, right? So now what we need is the ability for any functional unit to be able to turn around and grab those capabilities that they need so that they can have better decision making, more timely and efficient process. They need to be able to manage their resources and have accountability. More importantly, what about regulatory requirements and the interaction of your external sources? A lot of other things come into play when we think about single-tiered versus multi-tiered. The most important thing, you want efficient systems, and you want to be able to ensure that you're getting the right information at the right time. So, how has it all changed? Technology has changed. Nowadays, that upper left-hand, console that you see, your smartphone has more capability than that had, and that's only been 30 years. We have different ways that we store our data. We don't need to have, floppy disks anymore or compact disks. Now everything is digital. We turn around and we need to be able to integrate. We need to be able to communicate inside, outside, across the world, many different devices, many different platforms. We also have to untether ourselves. We no longer work within four walls. We have people that are virtual offices. We have customers and clients around the world. And what about the data? It was easy back in the day to just have a spreadsheet for your one main customer to know what they did. But now with all the analytics, with all of the information that we need to digest and absorb and consume to make decisions, there's needs to be able to work through all of that. And most importantly, now we have to be scalable. We can't turn around anymore and simply say, oh, this is what we have, we're going to use this forever. Well, if our business grows, if we, turn around and buy other companies, expand into new markets and new business, we need the ability to be able to scale. So on the left-hand side before, you could see having one holistic ERP system, people were happy, letting all that information just funnel through one system, being able to see what was going on. But in today's day and age, with all the information going back and forth, we need it to be, not to be funneled through one thing. We need to be able to get access quickly and digest it. And what that means is we may need to look at some type of cloud offering. We may need to look at some type of service offering so that we can turn around and we can have our organization go from a single lane highway to a multi-lane highway where we're able to multitask and do many things at one time. Think of all the technology that's come out in the last 5 to 10 years. Think about all the different ways people are now doing work, right? Think about now how big box stores have replaced the little mom and pop shops on the corner. How, even the simplest task is going grocery shopping. You can now order all of your groceries, just drive up, pick them up, and get in your car and go back again. It's changing, and it's changing quickly. And how do you, as an organization, adapt to utilizing these multiple solutions? Well, you have to think of it this way. A traditional ERP system is now basically utilized in large organizations. The current move of your ERP vendor is to say, wait a minute, let me give you solutions that'll work for a small and medium-sized enterprise and or solutions that you can bolt on when it doesn't affect 100% of your organization. So when you look to migrate to an existing solution and architecture, you have to say to yourself, how's it going to impact those functional areas, not only that I'm trying to bring in, but the ones that are currently in the organization? And what about all the data? What's going to happen there? And I'm going to give you a real life example that I'm going through right now with a client as to how the decision of single tier versus multi-tier affects all of these things. Because the growth in the way we need to communicate and the information we need to gather, that affects everything, not only the people, but all of our applications, data, and process in the enterprise. It's becoming extremely complex. So Gartner is saying that ERP systems of the past are now legacy ERP systems. They're not flexible enough, not dynamic enough to keep up with the ever-changing times. And while they're not going to disappear, they need to adapt and become that system of record where there's very little customization, but the ability to integrate other types of solutions into them so that the rest of the business can continue to expand and grow. And in its heyday, CEOs and business people wanted that reliable integrated solution, so they looked at ERP to do this. But today they know that while they want the same quality, they can't get it in one single solution. They need to understand that to lower their IT costs, they need flexible solutions that they can then put together and integrate together. So the need for agility and responsiveness is leading to this new multi-tier type of ERP look and feel. The ERP suite that we knew before is being deconstructed. That diagram you saw before, a lot of the functionality now is going to be sourced as a cloud service, or it's going to turn around and become some other type of business process outsourced operation. So again, Gartner is saying that cloud and the emergence of postmodern ERP was going to replace normal traditional ERP system and make them turn into a legacy status. And that evolution started back in 2016. And last year, organizations, 70% said, wait a minute, even though I'm adopting a hybrid ERP solution, I'm going to fail in improving my cost benefit unless I turn around and have that solution provide something different. And what that means is this. Simply don't take a piece of your ERP, do the same old thing and move it to the cloud. When you look to do that, look to become more efficient, look to utilize more things than what you're doing already. Because if you just simply do the same thing on a different platform, where is the efficiency? Where is the return? And now what we have to say is that if you truly want to gain value, you have to understand that traditional ERP suites, that philosophy is dead. You need to have a hybrid approach that has some cloud-based solutions with a smaller core of on-premise functionality. So don't assume that taking a cloud application, though, is going to actually give you value. You need to make sure that you link your business objectives to that, and you need to ensure that you expand that cloud solution. So become a digital enterprise. Look to become agile. Look to gather and conquer that unforeseen opportunity. Look to squash the unforeseen threat of your competitor by leapfrogging over you. Understand that in today's day and age, people want real-time information. They want more proactive versus reactive things. And they also want to be able to be connected to customers, connected to products. You need to be able to be social and collaborative. So multi-tier is replacing single-tier. Why? Because now businesses are looking at actual applications as singular things. They're no longer looking at a, quote, supply chain process. They're looking within the supply chain and saying, how can this procurement process be better for me? What can I do? What kind of application can I put in to make that one process better? And lines of businesses within your organization, they're looking to do that without real concern as to what the security or integration needs are. So you know that your vendor is taking care of all that, but your IT people need to understand that as well. No more big bangs, right? Little chunks, I'm using the word little steps, meaning that instead of looking to do a complete supply chain or doing a complete order to cash process, people may be looking to just do some type of advanced pricing type of bolt-on. People want things today without any kind of hesitation from IT. They want to leverage the latest technology, and they want to make sure that the user experience is what the users of today expect and the consumer of today expect. So let's look to make things as simple as possible, but let's not say that we're going to deconstruct your business process. Your business process has to still grow and expand, but your solution should not cause that to become more rigid. So back in the day, people thought SaaS, people thought cloud, let's reduce cost. That's not why people are staying today. People are looking at SaaS, people are looking at cloud because they recognize that those solutions are transforming your business. All right, we're deconstructing the ERP solution, right? We need to get greater agility and flexibility. That's what's driving all of these strategies today. And your CIOs in your organization are responsible for evaluating if a tiered approach is a better approach for your organization. So what is two-tier? A two-tier ERP is one that says I have a core ERP system for my corporate office, something like SAP or Oracle. But when it comes to my subsidiaries or other lines of business, they can still be on a functionally robust solution, be it cloud or on-prem, that's easy for them to deploy and customize to their own business needs and requirements. So it's taking away the mandate of force feeding everybody and saying, wait a minute, we have groups within the organization that can be self-sustaining on a thinner version of my ERP, run their operations leaner and better, while at the same time still providing me the information I need. Because if you look at a single-tier solution, that doesn't necessarily meet the needs of today's business. It becomes a maintenance nightmare because I might have to support, demographically the other hemisphere of the world for a solution that's here in the States. I might be a multi-billion-dollar company and I purchase a tens of millions of dollar organization, and I can't cram that need into my multi-billion-dollar ERP. And what happens if I go south of the border and I go into Brazil and I have challenges for taxes and things like that? How do I reinvent the wheel in my corporate ERP system? Well, maybe I start to customize. Maybe I start to do some other things. And the next thing you know, I become version locked and I can't even upgrade my core ERP system anymore. So not only have I hampered my divisions, I've even hampered myself in the fact that I can't even upgrade anymore. So think about this. Your ERP solution doesn't always fit a subsidiary or multinational model. There are regulatory requirements. There are localization requirements. There's cultural requirements and how people do business. So looking at a corporate or global model becomes a costly event, and it does truly limit your flexibility. You get a lot of costly downtime because not only are you having to worry about supporting yourself, but what happens if there's a local need now that you have to reconfigure and rechange business process? What's going to happen? And what's going to happen if there's a merger or acquisition? Now all of a sudden you could start fragmenting your ERP solution. And you'd look to layer in some other changes like self-service or mobile apps. The ongoing upgrade and maintenance to one singular ERP system becomes a very costly burden. And again, most organizations refuse to keep up with it year upon year, and therefore it leads to version lock. So, most leading analysts say that if you're a single-tier ERP, 2/3 of you are in a version that is more than 2 versions old. Now, what's interesting is for those of you that are using Oracle and JD Edwards Enterprise One, think about this. Release 9.2 came out in 2015. Now, some of you might say, oh, I'm on release 9.1. That's only one release behind. Well, it might only be one release behind, but it's already 6-7 years old. So think about all that functionality that you're losing. Think about all the other enhancements. So it's not simply looking at the release level, understanding how many years it's been and what you're missing out on because technology is changing so quickly. So 2-tier ERP again. The first tier is just your core system. Maybe it's your corporate and global model. And then tier 2 is all your other subsidiaries or divisions, and they're utilizing things like cloud or software as a service. And that second tier, could be from another vendor, or it could be from the same vendor, right? The nice thing about it is you have an open market choice depending upon what your needs are. So think about a second, third tier ERP. And what are the drivers? Introducing new products and business models. You want to quickly get into a new geography, or you want to be able to track revenue for a new product or market independent, right? Or maybe you can't do an on-prem ERP because it's getting too large for your business. The other reason you might look for that is to quickly get into, a new market and to quickly be able to consolidate into your core ERP financial or funnel solution. You may want to standardize subsidiaries, right? So that they can all close at the same time and you don't have to worry about taking, extra time, weeks, days. If you try to push out the corporate model to your subsidiaries, trying to develop a corporate standard, trying to get them all on board, it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. And maybe you want to get into a new channel. Now, here's my real-world experience. I'm dealing with a client right now that is basically a U.S. company, headquartered in the United States. They're running J.D. Edwards, and they're running Enterprise One. But they went out and they purchased an organization over in Europe and the Far East. And that organization is running NetSuite, and they're using that for their complete manufacturing and financial process. So their concern right now is, well, why can't I consolidate and either put everything on NetSuite or put everything on J.D. Edwards? And the long and short of it is this: when they looked at their manufacturing and what they were doing in the United States, the type of business that they're in the U.S., which required serialization and a lot of other unique processes within the manufacturing world, none of that is relevant overseas and in the Far East. They had a very thin manufacturing process over there. The way they developed their product and what they were selling was nothing similar to what they're doing in the States. So if they look to consolidate, someone's going to lose. So what's the alternative? The alternative is to still stay and have Europe and the Far East use NetSuite and be a quote-unquote global standard on NetSuite, and have the U.S. do what they're doing here in the U.S., all utilizing the same type of global structure, but yet letting the U.S. just get that financial information they need to consolidate. So two-tier lowers your costs, enables optimization, because now the people in Europe, they control their own destiny. They can turn around and support their own system. They have their own back office processes that are separate from the main company. And guess what? If they buy another facility over there in Germany or France or wherever, they can quickly expand and change and be efficient. We don't have to worry about trying to cram it all into a quote-unquote more unique solution. So two-tier strategies are good for organizations that utilize multiple lines of business. Companies where there's multiple industry solutions, right? Companies where different functions but in the same vertical. Now, in the organization I'm speaking about, they service many different industries, but the company in the U.S. is really unique just to one industry, where the ones over in Asia and Europe supported multiple industries. So again, another reason to say, wait a minute, we're not even in the same verticals. Why would I try to revamp my solutions and make them different? So if you're a multinational global company, it may make sense. If you're constantly acquiring or divesting, that may make sense. And what about if you have an ERP system that you've been using and you're at corporate and it's so entrenched with mods and things of that nature, but yet you're okay with that because of the way you utilize it, and all of a sudden another division comes on board or whatever, right? You can't upgrade, so maybe you look for another tier. So let's look at an example. I have a corporate office that corporate office really did manufacturing and they did service and warranty, maybe they did some rental, and all of that was on their core ERP system. And all of a sudden they said, well, wait a minute, let's turn around and let's move out of just manufacturing and let's even think about parts distribution. So let's open up another division where we simply distribute parts. Well, maybe that division becomes a second-tier ERP. Or what happens if we're a global multinational organization and we manufacture in the U.S., but we also distribute in the U.S., but those processes are separate and apart because of how they, turn around and the different demographics that they deal with. And maybe we have a couple of other divisions that do light manufacturing and light distribution. Well, why can't I have different packages for those organizations that are just feeding the financial data into my core U.S. operations? Again, a lot of different reasons to use a multi-tier ERP, because what you want to get out of that solution is affordability. When you look at SaaS, you know what it's going to cost you. You know every single month what's going to happen. With a SaaS model, you also know that you get 24/7 support. You're getting the upgrades and the maintenance as part of that whole solution. And you no longer have to wait for anything. It's going to happen right away, right? Now, a lot of organizations say, hey, well, what happens if I don't want to take an upgrade? Again, that's part of the analysis that you need to do. But the nice thing about a SaaS offering, it's 100% service guarantee. And you get a better security model, and you know that your SaaS provider is very knowledgeable and has the staff to support you for whatever you need. And you're going to get a highly satisfied, highly maintained system. If you have an on-prem that you're taking care of yourself and you look to become global, think about the demands that that puts on your human capital within your organization, not only to support it because of the time, but also if you change functionality or layer in new functionality, the fact that they have to become knowledgeable in all of that as well. So, two-tier, what types of things can you do? You have your corporate ERP model. Maybe you have some kind of applications or some kind of product within the Americas. And then you turn around and you utilize a second-tier ERP in different parts of the world for different verticals or different types of process. So you think about that. You have a multi-billion-dollar company that buys a $20 million manufacturing plant in EMEA. Processes are totally different. A $20 million organization does not need the robustness that a multi-billion-dollar enterprise needs. It lets you get into that new marketplace quickly and easily. It lets you have that acquired organization have the capabilities they need. And if that acquired organization has multiple divisions, you don't need to worry about rolling them all in. You can have just one model. Bring them to the core ERP solution, very costly. Letting them take a two-tier strategy, less costly. What about my multi-billion-dollar enterprise acquiring a $20 million manufacturing plant in Latin America? Well, if I look to do a single-tier consideration, I'm going to have very lengthy implementation and high cost. I got languages. I got localization issues. I have all of the other constraints. Why am I going to spend so much money on a $20 million company? My core ERP doesn't fit what those local needs are. I'm going to have to look at re-engineering process. I might become more rigid and sacrifice agility. I need to spend a lot more money and time on consultancy. It's going to cost me a lot more money than to quickly go out and get a second tier that's more agile and more flexible and is a fraction of the cost than it would cost me to buy more user licenses and to implement. So when you think about things, just because you already own a software and you're looking to expand, don't think that the cheapest way is to simply use what you own today. That's not necessarily the case. There's so many other constraints people don't consider. Because in today's day and age, everything has an open architecture. Everything is easy to integrate. Your consistency is what you do with your master data. The organization that I'm referring to, their biggest challenge today is not the fact that they have two different ERP systems. Their challenge today is how do they become consistent in their master data and change their master data? That's their challenge. Now, you don't want to have, in the example I'm giving you, where they have 4 European and Asia operations, you don't want to have a total of 5 ERP systems. No, you want to minimize those numbers. So all 4 in Europe and Asia do the same thing. So consolidate that onto one ERP. So in effect, your overall solution is just 2. But yet you're still going to have that robust functionality and flexibility. You're going to have that lower cost of ownership by doing it that way. Make sure, though, you look at packages where you have the capability that those organizations need throughout their enterprise. Make sure that it would support multiple languages. Make sure it supports the currencies. Make sure that it has the workflow capability so that you can get that efficiency. And if you do all that, it becomes a very cost-effective, very rapid to deploy, very easy to maintain and upgrade solution. So done right, Two-Tier enables enterprises to standardize, empowers people to innovate, quickly get you where you need to go, allows you to seamlessly layer in different mergers and acquisitions. It allows you elastic growth. It alleviates some consulting costs, and it provides you that customer-centric commerce. So again, speed, lower cost, improved consistency, competitive advantages, less disruptive, reduces CapEx, becomes an OpEx expense with a lower cost of support, gives you all the modern technology and mobility, and gives you reduced downtime. So think about it. Are you version locked? Are you a multinational global enterprise? Do you have multiple instances of the same solution but at different release levels? Are you constantly acquiring or divesting? Are you constantly looking at new markets and business strategies? If you're doing any of these things, does it make sense for your enterprise? Because long and short of it is, things don't remain static. Technology changes, other things are changing. Make sure you say to yourselves, are we being everything we can be? Are we utilizing things the right way? Because digital technologies, social, mobile, analytic, cloud, all of that today, the technology is not what's the driver. Instead, it's how do you look at all of that? How do you layer it into your business? That's where you get the benefit. So, if you want, GSI offers mini cloud value assessments. We offer the ability where we can help you understand what you can do by looking at a cloud or a separate tier solution. We are a dynamic experience partner, right? And this is a smaller version of our cloud value assessment, so you can get a look and feel of what cloud can offer you. What we'll do is we'll come in for a half-day discovery. We'll have our cloud expert discuss how moving one of your business applications from your on-prem environment to the cloud, what it would look like. You know, we'll work with you to understand the business factors that may want to drive you to the desire to move. And then what we'll do is we'll look into all the details of that application, the dependencies, etc., so that we can turn around and devise a good path for you to migrate to the cloud. And once we do all of this, we'll turn around and we'll create a deliverable document to you that's going to outline all of our findings from the session and recommendation on the feasibility and next steps for you moving forward. And we'll present this document in a cloud roadmap session, and we'll give that to your key stakeholders in your organization. Now, if you decide to go with this, it's simply, a $39.95 cost to you, and that account or that amount would be credited back to your organization if you utilize GSI in any of your migration needs. So again, it's a very small price to pay to see where you as an organization can get benefit out of moving toward a SaaS or cloud solution, utilizing a partner that's certified within, multiple cloud disciplines. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss it back over to Brooke. Hopefully she has a couple of lozenges or whatever, and she can make it through the rest of the presentation. So
thanks, Tom.
All right.
Thank you so much. That was great. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you,
Yeah. All right, let's see here. So I would like to cover a few of our follow-up items, and then we will move on to our question and answer session of the webcast. Our webcast today is part of GSI's free ongoing educational webcast series, and our upcoming webcast is up listed on the screen. We will usually have more. We'll have a few more webcasts coming out this week, so be sure to check our website for that. And if you would like to register for any of these free educational webcasts, you can go out to our website at getgsi.com. And we will also be at Collaborate in Las Vegas, and you can come see us at booth 317. And if you'd like to sign up for our weekly emails on upcoming webcasts or our monthly newsletter, you can go to getgsi.com, go to the bottom of the screen, and click for the link for each. All right, I see that we have a couple of questions here. And I just want to remind everybody that if you would still like to submit a question, you can do so using the questions panel in the GoToWebinar console window on the right of your screen. And if you minimized your console earlier, please click the left-facing arrow to redisplay the questions panel. All right.
I'll tell you what, Brooke, I'll tell you what, Brooke, to save your voice, I'll ask the question.
Oh,
okay?
Thank you.
All right. So the first question we have from David is he'd like to know if the slides will be shared after the webinar. This webinar is being recorded, so while the slides will not be shared, if you do want, you can go to the GSI website, and there'll be a section on our website where you can look at the webinars and webcasts, and we record every webcast that we provide, so that you can go back in and share them with your organization. And again, as Brooke alluded to, we do more than just simply, multi-tier. We do webinars on a myriad of different things. So feel free to go in there and look and see all of the recordings we have, and then you can go from there. The next question is from Juan, and he wants to know, when I was speaking about the assessment and the cloud value assessment, he would like to understand how that brings value to the organization, or even if you're not considering a SaaS opportunity, how would that cloud assessment bring value to the organization? So the way I would answer that, Juan, is by saying that the opportunity that I'm engaged in right now initially wanted to just understand taking an organization from one solution into the other, and they simply had a checklist that said, hey, we're looking for these capabilities. We want to know, will this software handle it? Will that software handle it? And as we got into the event, while we were saying to them, yeah, one of these handles it better than the other, it boiled down and came down to the fact that even though the solutions, each one can handle things the same, they really didn't handle them the same based upon the business and what the business was trying to achieve. So while they weren't even looking to come up with a two-tier solution, just being able to sit down and talk to somebody to say, hey, what does your footprint look like? What type of operations do you have? How are you all, consolidated and bled together? And even if you still stay single tier, does it mean that everything should be on-prem, or should you take some of it and move it off-premise into the cloud? That's the type of solution that we look to provide for you, because maybe you have a process like HCM, human capital management, where it is what it is and it doesn't change much and you don't need to support it day in and day out. Well, maybe moving that solution into the cloud is better than keeping it on premise and having to support it internally with your own people. So those are the types of conversations that the assessment can help you with, so that you can understand where you need to go. All right. I think right now, Brooke, those were the only questions that we had. So
Great.
What I will do is I will thank everybody for attending. Again, you see our contact information on the bottom of the screen. Anything that you would like to see, or if you have a question or whatever, please feel free to email me and we'll go from there.
Great.
So with that, Brooke, thank you so much. I hope you feel better, and I'll let you sign off.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. As a follow-up from today's webcast, we ask that you complete a short 1-minute survey when you exit, and you'll be receiving an email with a link to our resource center on our website, where you can access the recording from today's webcast, as well as a copy of the presentation. And after today's webcast, we will do the $25 drawing for the Amazon gift card. And anyone that attended the entire webcast and completes the survey will be eligible, and we will notify the winner. Thank you again so much, Tom, and everybody, for attending our presentation today, and we hope that you have a great day.